level, like just so intelligent, emotionally intelligent, IQ, EQ, all of it. But he went to a community college for the first 2 years because it was $500 a quarter or something, whatever it is, just to pay for
debt-free.
Exactly. And I was like, good for you. You could have like went to, and now he's going to Ohio State for his final 2 years.
Transferred to the 4-year finish.
And it's a state school. It's a lot cheaper. Like he can pay it off while he's working, while he's in school, to pay it off by the time he's done. And I'm like, that is a smart way to do it. Unless you're going for some specialty skill. Like I was an athlete, so I wanted to play at a university where I could play sports. That was different to help me get into being a professional athlete.
Yes.
I took on debt, but I was able to pay it off within like 7 years. Or some other like specialty skill, but usually you can find an internship, a mentorship. You can learn stuff online now that's affordable or free, and learn these things and try to work somewhere during there as well. Is there ever a time, Winston Churchill, you said in the book, a quote from Winston Churchill, I began my education at a very early age. In fact, right after I left college. I think it was someone else, maybe it was Einstein, or someone that said, don't let schooling get in the way of your education.
Oh yeah, maybe in a Twain quote or something.
Mark Twain, yeah, don't let schooling get in the way of your education.
Yeah. Well, it's become about the experience.
Yeah.
I think we can admit that now. Look at colleges; they got whirlpools that they're selling in the college brochures, and look at the world-class cafeteria and the chefs. It's not about the education anymore. It's now become about mom and dad's reputation.
Right.
And the parents can't brag to their friends about the kid going to community college down the road. And so what parents are doing is saying, hey, go to that school, we'll figure it out. What that turns into is we'll take out student loans in their name. We've seen that on the Ramsey Show. We'll co-sign Parent Plus loans, which just means the parent just took out debt. And here's what we've seen. The kids can't always pay, and it falls back on the parent, and it makes Thanksgiving dinner real awkward. And so all of that, it turns into people paying for student loans for 20 years is the average. And the balance grows over time. They're paying this down with the minimum payment, so they think, or these income-driven repayment plans, and they started with 40 grand. Well, now the balance is 60 because they were in deferment and they couldn't pay and they're trying to get the job, and there wasn't this magic, job at the end of the college rainbow with the salary they thought they were going to get. I interviewed high schoolers and they were just like flabbergasted when I was like, you're not going to make 100 grand straight out of college with that degree.
They thought they would?
Yeah. They all think, well, I'll just make 6 figures. It'll be fine. So I'll take on 200 grand in debt. I'll pay it. I'll be able to pay it off. Not realizing what your paycheck's going to be after taxes and what that's going to look like when you already have a car payment. And now everyone's telling you when you graduate, you got to get a house. What are you doing? You're a college graduate. That's the American dream.
Travel the world and, live your life. Yeah.
And so all of that just turns into this life that, I say in the book that we were sold the American dream, but delivered the American nightmare, especially with this student loan thing. And I love education. I think you can get more education from this show than you can from most college campuses, to be honest. And the people I've seen that are successful are not successful because of a piece of paper. They're the secret sauce. Mm-hmm. And they just found the right knowledge base and skill set to learn to do the thing they wanted to do.
It's interesting because I felt extremely insecure and stupid almost my entire life because of school, because I did so poorly in school. And I had a tutor every day. I was in special needs classes. When kids were doing lunch and recess, I was with a tutor alone, feeling shameful that I couldn't remember or comprehend the words on a page that I was reading as a middle school and high schooler. It felt really sad and lonely because everyone else was excelling in school. And I remember thinking like, gosh, I can't wait till the bell to ring at 3:20 or 3:30 every day so I can get on the sports field or the basketball court or the baseball field, because that's where I was learning the most about myself, about how to set goals every day, about how to, be disciplined, about how to listen to a coach and actually implement, okay, you tell me to do this thing, I'm going to do it. How to get feedback and receive feedback, how to communicate with teammates and work with a team. All those skills, I was like, this is school for me. Like I'm learning more in this 2 hours of practice than 8 hours of a classroom. And I remember saying to myself, like after school was done, because it was just a painful experience emotionally and spiritually in a sense. It was just like, I couldn't wait for things to be done. And I was like, I am an idiot. Like after school was over, I was like, I still don't know anything. And the things the degree I got, like I'll never use this and all these different things. And I was like, I need to learn a lot. There's still so much I need to learn. And I remember thinking to myself, before I started the School of Greatness 10 years ago, I was like, I want to start something where I can learn from the smartest people in the world and get the best education. And it's not going to be sitting in a classroom all day. It's going to be learning one-to-one and then figuring out how can I share this with the world. And that's why school, it's a school of greatness. I was like, this is what I wish I learned growing up, stuff that you talk about in your book. No one talks about this stuff.
Yeah.
No one teaches you about the financial strain you might have for your whole life if you do certain things. They don't teach us about how to deal with losing or failure or emotions or all this different stuff that we need as adults, this different type of education. That's why I created the School of Greatness.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm glad that you're here talking about financial freedom and breaking free from broke, like you have in your book. So the biggest financial scam that you think right now is college.
It's the one that our generation was sold. I mean, think about it, like from a young age, that's the path you're sold. Is if
What
you
school are you to go to?
get good grades, to go to this school, to get a better job that pays more money so that you can have a better financial life. It doesn't pan out these days. For most people, they, number one, either don't finish school, they don't use their degree, and they're paying it off for so long that there's no ROI there. And yes, there's trades, of course, that I think are undervalued in today's world. And you can go to trade school and pay for that in cash and be making more than your buddy who has his philosophy degree.
Right.
And so I think there's a lot of value in all kinds of work. And in the world we live in today, I mean, gosh, you can start a YouTube channel and podcast and be just fine. And so there's so many opportunities out there that I think, especially the younger generations, they're starting to sniff this out and go, Mom, Dad, I'm not going to go to your alma mater.
No, unless your parents want to pay for it and say, we're going to pay everything and you don't have to worry about any debt. And they just want to do it out of the kindness of their heart. And it's like, okay, then maybe that's a thing you could do for 4 years to learn, or 4.5, 5 years or whatever. And
you might be better off going to Europe for, send me to Europe for 30 grand.
Learn a language.
And it's still cheaper.
In Europe, yeah, exactly.
If you want the experience and the social, growth and all that. But there's nothing wrong with going to these famous schools and expensive schools. But if you're doing it with debt and doing it for the wrong reasons, and to put the pressure on a 17-year-old to be like, what do you want to do for the next 40 years? Because then there's sunk cost fallacy and there's resentment. Because, I grew up in Middle Eastern culture. It was like, well, you're either going to be in medicine or you're going to be an engineer.
Or a failure.
You get two options. So I was the failure. My parents were very supportive. I got a communication degree and went the rest of my family they're engineers and in medicine world, which is great for them. But a lot of them are years later still paying on those student loans.
Wow.
And you're going from a nurse to a nurse practitioner and to doctor and pharmacist, and all of these paths, they take a lot of money. And sometimes you go, I thought I was going to make $300,000. I'm in residency and I'm not making squat. And so there's just a lot of misinformation and myths around what the future will look like. And when you do it without debt, you just have less stress.
Yes.
You have more peace about the next step, and you have different options.
Yes.
You don't have to take that first job. You can wait.
What would you say are the 3 biggest killers of wealth in America?
Ooh. On my YouTube channel, I did a video, and it was America's #1 wealth killer, and it was about car loans. And that one blew up.
Tell me why.
Because I did the math, and math sometimes is offensive, of what that car payment would be if you had just simply invested it.
Wow.
And it was millions of dollars. We're talking like $6 million if you invest the average car payment.
Give me a breakdown of this.
Well, if you take, the average car payment, I think of the book was, $600 now, $700 for a new
month.
car. Yeah, $700 for a new car.
$5,000 down, probably $700 a month or something. Yeah.
That's normal now because new cars are now 40, 50 grand. And so $700 a month invested in the S&P 500, which historically, we'll see a 10% return, 11% return. Well, over 30 years of your career, $700 a month, it's a freaking lot of money, and it turns into millions and millions of dollars. Now, the opposite side is, let's say you're going to be the tortoise. You're going to be me, and you're going to go, well, I'm going to buy the $6,000 car, and I'm going to slowly upgrade over time to the used $12,000 car, maybe eventually to the $20,000 car, $30,000, whatever. You're going to do it with cash over a long period of time, and that payment you would have had, you can put that away, save it, invest it, sinking funds, all of that, and you're not paying any interest. And so I think the choices we make because of loans, we go, well, I can't afford a $50,000 car, but I can afford a $500 monthly payment. it's broken. Like wealthy people ask a different question. They don't ask how much down, how much a month. They ask how much. What is the full price? And if I can't afford it, I'm not buying it.
I'm going to pay it all in cash right now and not have this payment over time.
Absolutely. So I think car loans are number one.
What's the benefit of, say someone's like, I want to buy a really fancy car. I want to buy a $50,000 to maybe a $80,000 car, $100,000 car. And they're saying to themselves, why spend $100,000 on a car when I can just pay, $1,300 a month and keep that cash? I can invest that cash in the market, and that's going to grow for me and pay down my payments over time. What do you say to that?
Well, I think those people, first of all, they rarely have the margin to be able to do that. And usually if they're spending $100,000 on a car, they're going to be flexing in other ways in other parts of their life.
Yeah.
And so this idea that I could like arbitrage that money, I'm going to deploy my cash in this way, I think it's a losing game. And because it stems from comparison and discontentment. It stems from I want something that I can't afford, but I want it anyways, and debt allows me to have it now. It's like
what if someone can't afford it?
If they can't afford it, go for it.
But why? If someone can't afford it, should they pay it all in cash and be done with it, one payment? Or should they say, I can afford it, but I'm going to be able to pay these payments down also, and but I'd like to have more cash in the bank for whatever reason.
Yeah. Now, I think for most people, if you have, let's say, $100,000 in cash, and you're going to get a $100,000 car, but you're like, well, I could just take on the payments. I'll use this elsewhere. I think if you're actually doing the math, it just doesn't make sense. Because number one, you're assuming, well, the market's just going to keep going up and up and up. I'll always make money. It's a roller coaster.
Right.
So if you're investing for the short term, that's a dangerous game. But on the other side, when you look at that $100,000 car, and if the more expensive the car, the more it's going to depreciate, most likely. The $100,000 car, we've seen, and I talk about this in the book, in 5 years, it goes down 60% in value.
Wow.
5 years. So $100,000 down to $40,000. You're like, that hurts my brain to think about.
It's a depreciating asset, yeah.
And so you're paying interest on the depreciating asset. And so you're getting hurt on both ends there.
Wow.
And what we found on the Ramsey show, almost every single caller is saying, help me, I'm underwater on my car. I owe 60, it's only worth 40. What do I do?
What do they do?
You don't have that problem when you don't have a car payment.
Right.
When you just paid in cash.
What do those people do if they've in that situation though? What do you guys suggest?
There's only a few options. Number one is you just hang on to the car and pay it off. Number two, you come up with the difference. So let's say you're 20 grand underwater. You come up with 20 grand in cash, saving up over time in order to pay off that loan in full.
Wow.
Then the other option is you go to your local credit union and get a personal loan for the difference. And say, listen, the same place that gave you the loan in the first place, you got a bad loan on your hands. You got bad collateral here because what you gave me, this asset is not worth that anymore. Can I have the difference in order to get rid of this asset, get it out of my life, get out from under this car payment? So it's none of those options are pretty, by the way.
Yeah. So you don't think you should ever get a car loan?
No.
Yeah.
I don't think it's wise. There's a lot of financial people out there going like, well, here's the parameters, and if you do it this much down, I've seen it all. But what I've also seen is people who build wealth with intentionality, and they're not trying to flex. They just buy the cars they can afford.
Right.
And once you have no payments, and that's a value you live by, you just make different decisions. Because once payments are normal on one end, you're just going to go, well, it's fine. I already got a payment here. I got a payment there. When you decide I'm done with debt, it is so freeing because you just go, I could save up 20 grand. I know how to do that. I did it for the down payment. I did it for college. I can do it for the car.
Yeah.
And so cars are utility, and it's fun. Dave Ramsey's got some really nice cars. He's paid cash for all of them. He gets to choose what kind of car he drives. So we always say, drive like no one else, so later you can drive like no one else.
Right.
And that was me. I drove an '09 Civic just a few years ago.
Oh, wow.
With the bumper hanging off. Dave Ramsey's making fun of me. He's going, come on, dude, it's time to upgrade the car. But I was like, I'm paying off the house first, and then I'm going to upgrade. And even then, I bought a used car still. And even
nicer used car though.
Nicer.
Very nice, yeah.
Yes. And so we just upgraded my wife's car because she deserves way better than I do. And so it hurt my soul to write that check, but man, it felt good to not have a payment next month.
Right.
And the month after that, and the month after that. So now we're able to invest in my little girl's 529 plan and save up for that vacation, and she can enjoy the car, and it can go down in value, and it doesn't hurt my soul one bit. I'm like, It's not. We're never going to be underwater on this car. It's just a toy.
It's a toy, but she appreciates it. It allows her to feel safe or an emotional connection.
Yeah.
Or, you know.
It's okay to, like, people think that we're against having nice stuff and nice cars. Like, they just want you to drive beater cars forever. I'm like, no, drive a beater car while you're broke so you can break free from broke to get the car you really want. Yeah. But you own it and it doesn't own you.
Yeah, that's good.
American culture these days is everything owns you. Wow. Because you got payments attached to everything in your life.
Now, what's your thoughts on buying a home being a great decision or a horrible decision?
Ooh.
Because you hear a lot of people saying, like, never buy a home that you live in, like just rent. And
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, and also it's just like homes are getting more and more expensive. I mean, a home in Los Angeles is pretty unaffordable for a lot of people compared to maybe Idaho or something where a home might be a different price. But should we be buying our own home and taking on this massive mortgage and this massive debt and these payments every month, and then having to fix things up and, you know, fix the roof and the water or the systems, whatever it is, and all the state taxes and all these other fees that come with owning a house?
It's no joke.
Or just rent a house, let someone else take care of all that stress, and you stay in a space that is more flexible for you.
Yeah, well, I think renting has got a real bad rap in today's world, and I hate that because I think renting is very wise. It's buying patience, and for a lot of people, it does make sense. And if you're living in a high cost of living city, like, you're not entitled to be a homeowner and you live in New York City or LA. Like, it's going to be harder. If you want to buy a home in San Francisco, and that's where you choose to live, you better have the income to support living in San Francisco. And so I think home ownership is a great goal that everyone should have, to at some point be a homeowner and have that house paid off. And we've seen that as part of the Millionaire Study. A paid off home was a huge part of their net worth.
Really?
There's about a third of their net worth of millionaires was in a paid for home.
Wow.
And the average millionaire paid off their home in 10.2 years. And so I think it's a huge part. I think renting forever is also a bad plan of just going, because rent's going to go up over time, because those homeowners' property taxes go up over time and someone owns that house. And so that's also a bad plan. I want you to have a fixed expense of a home and then soon pay that off. And so here's the way to do it to where you know you're not making a poor decision. Only buy a house when you're financially ready. And that has nothing to do with home prices and interest rates. It has everything to do with your own financial home.
How do you know when you're financially ready to buy a home?
Once you're completely debt-free of consumer debt, you've done the debt snowball, you have a fully funded emergency fund, 3 to 6 months of expenses, then you save up the down payment. And here's the other kicker. Not only do you have the down payment, but you get a 15-year fixed rate mortgage where the payment is no more than a quarter of your after-tax income. So that looks a lot like, if you make $5,000 a month, $1,250 should be where that mortgage sits on a 15-year. Now that's hard to do, I'll admit. In today's world with home prices and interest rates, that's going to be hard. So what do you have to do? Make different decisions, because the math didn't change.
Right.
So what has to change is your expectations of your first home. That might mean we get the condo instead of the single family. It might mean we're 45 minutes outside of the city because that's the one we can afford. It might mean we got to save up a bigger down payment for the next 2 years in order to do this wisely.
Right.
But the other option is, and then we get this on the Ramsey Show, people call us and say, hey, my parents pressured us to buy a house and now it's 65% of our take-home pay and we're broke. Like, we can't afford this and that, and we can't, put food on the table and cover our bills, and we got to sell the house now. Well, that turns home ownership from a blessing to a burden. And so there's a right way to do it and a right time to do it. But unfortunately, people in their 20s are just like, well, it's time for me to buy a home. It's the American dream. Where's my home? I got the degree. I'm still paying all my student loans, but gosh, I need to get in a home. And so there's a time and a place for it.
Should you buy a home if you have student debt?
Oof. Well, my hot take is no. My hot take is pay off all consumer debt before you get a home.
And your student loans.
Everything. Student loans, credit cards, car loans, it all needs to go before you become a homeowner. Because it compounds the stress. Because home ownership it's real expensive. Like, you think it's apples to apples. $2,000 in rent is not $2,000 in mortgage. Because the rent is the least you'll pay. The mortgage, that's just the starting point.
Yeah.
Before you start dealing with maintenance and repairs and the HVAC went out and the roof needs to be replaced 4 years from now. I mean, those are some big ticket items.
And your time to fixing stuff or whatever, managing things differently,
So sometimes I miss the days of renting when I could just call the apartment complex and be like, you got a problem to fix over here. And so it really is a blessing while you're renting. I know it stinks because you're like, I'm not building equity. But building that patience muscle is so important, and ignoring everyone else's noise of like, you got to get a house, man. If you don't get in now, you'll never get in.
Yeah, I lived in a 2-bedroom apartment for, I don't know, 15 years, until I was 40.
Wow.
I lived in a 2-bedroom apartment, and I felt completely fine with that. It was a nice apartment. I had like what I needed, and I upgraded, over time into a nicer apartments, but I did not feel like I'm missing out by not having a home. And I didn't have debt also. I liked the flexibility of renting and having the convenience to be able to travel and making sure someone's taking care of my stuff.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what city I was going to be in.
But you're more flexible.
Yeah, exactly.
If you're renting, like if you want to move cities and a different job.
Exactly.
Versus, what do I do now? The house isn't selling and I got to get to this job. Like you're more planted when you become a homeowner. It's not easy to get out. There could be tax implications if you sell too soon. So it definitely complicates things, but it's a great part of your wealth building journey, and I encourage everyone to do it, but don't feel pressured and don't do it before you're ready.
Is there such a thing as good debt versus bad debt?
Well, I wrote a chapter in the book called Debt is a Thief, and it's not bad debt is a thief, it's just debt is a thief.
Wow.
And so the hot take here is that your greatest wealth building tool is your income. And when you're giving any part of that to a lender, you don't have your greatest wealth building tool at your disposal completely. And so I've never seen, you always hear stories about people leveraging debt and, mortgages in a sense with your home appreciating. People are like, well, that's good debt. But it doesn't mean we want to hang on to the debt. The home is the part that's amazing. It's not hanging on to the debt.
Right.
And even with these low interest rates, people feel stuck because they have a 2-3% interest rate on their home. They're like, I can never get rid of this house. I can never sell because I'll lose this precious debt. Like the idea that we're so obsessed and attached to our debt shows how far off the beaten path we are as a culture. So I truly don't believe there's good debt and bad debt because I've only seen debt hurt people.
Right.
And the people that say they're winning, like it's easy to go on TikTok and be like, well, it worked for me and you should do it too. That's terrible advice because you don't know this other person's situation and what life's going to throw at them. And so it always adds risk.
You see a lot of people, especially in kind of the real estate space, saying, it's the only good debt you can have is when you're borrowing money to like get real estate, and then you're borrowing more to have more real estate, and it's compounding interest over time, or you're building equity in that, or whatever it might be. And you have 10 homes now, but you're all in debt with all these homes. You're borrowing it from the previous home. And unfortunately, there was a guy I met, earlier this year. I only met him once. But we had a nice kind of 2-hour dinner conversation. And unfortunately, it was public about a month or two ago that he committed suicide because he was a real estate guy. He had invested in way too much.
Over leveraged.
He just had his first child, and the pressure was too much for him to take on. How am I going to pay this off now? It was like some building that he invested in or something. He was developing, he was investing. And he had a lot of, I guess, net worth on paper, but then it was over leveraged and the pressure was too much. And he took his own life about a month or two ago. And it's just like, again, you hear some people saying like, yeah, it's cool to have debt, but until you feel like everyone's calling you and collecting and you don't know what to do and you can't get access to money to pay this off, are you emotionally stable enough to manage that chaos and stress in your life?
Yeah.
Do you want that in your life? And I don't know all the details of what actually happened, but I do know that more money doesn't always mean more peace.
Yes.
Sometimes more money means more pain if you're not educated or emotionally ready for that amount of money. And do you think if people got written $1 million check today, and they were in debt, do you think their lives would be better or more stressful?
Well, I think money magnifies who you are. And if you've never managed a lot of money, it's scary. Because if you haven't managed the little money you've had well, what makes you think you're going to manage $1 million well? Just because you have more of it doesn't mean you're going to make wise decisions. And we see this with the data on lottery winners. It's gone. Like, how did you blow? We got a call the other day, and this guy's like, I won $1 million, and it was gone within a few years.
Really?
And he just blew it. Doesn't take much, And so it was really sad because $1 million in the lottery is really $600,000, and you spend $100,000 a year for 6 years.
Gone.
The money's gone.
Yeah.
Not that crazy to do. And so, you've had our friend Dave Ramsey on this show multiple times, and he shared his story of bankruptcy, and he was over leveraged in real estate. The bank called the notes. and he couldn't sell off the properties fast enough, and it destroyed his life.
Wow.
It almost destroyed his marriage. And so, there's a reason Dave is so risk averse when it comes to debt. And now has a $600 million real estate portfolio with the Ramsey headquarters and all kinds of properties, and he paid cash for every dang one.
That's incredible.
He doesn't have a cent of debt. And so to me, it's inspiring to go like, you don't have to, there's not this one game you have to play to be a real estate investor. You can do it differently. You can go slow until you can go fast. And that's what Dave did. Because when you have all paid for properties, that thing cash flows like a mother. And so all of a sudden, pretty quickly, you have enough cash to deploy and get more property.
Right.
And so it's a different game. It's the tortoise versus the hare, but Dave's real peaceful with this